Have you ever read a book that made you cry, laugh, pull you in all the different streams of human emotion? Well, I read that book this month and I can't wait to share it with you. Hello everyone, welcome to Pen to Paper. I am Leah, and here on this channel I talk about writers' tips and advice on Wednesdays, and on Fridays it's all about books. Books, because that's where my love for books started as a reader. And so this month I'm so excited to share all the books that I read with you. I mean, I didn't read the books with you. I'm excited to share with you the books that I read. And what else do I want to say here? And also the TBR for June is super special and exciting. But let's first dive into the books. This month was all about books that I handpicked with care and love, and I've been wanting to read basically since the beginning of this year. And every month I've had books, and just one or two got lost along the way because I just didn't have enough time to read them. So this was kind of my catch-up month, and I'm so excited to share with you. Now, one of the books that didn't make it onto the list this month was War and Peace. Man, it is so big. I loved the first 100 pages, and I really want to finish it. I just don't know if I'm ready to dedicate 2 weeks to it. Maybe July. July will be the month that I do this. You guys got to keep me accountable, okay? July it is. I'm saying it out here for the world to hear. You guys help me out, okay? First book that I read this month. Ooh, actually I can't show it because it was an ebook. It was called Too Loud a Solitude by Bohumil Hrabal. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name properly. He's a Czech author from Czechoslovakia. And if you want to know all my thoughts on the book, you can go ahead and check out On the Same Page with Leah and Jay, my reading buddy Jay. We started a show to see, well, basically we read literary fiction and classics and see if we're on the same page with our thoughts. And this one, we were not on the same page. I really enjoyed it, and I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. It is about a man, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've read it. And he is a nobody. He's just someone who goes to his work day after day. He is a garbage compactor, and he's a drunkard. He drinks every day. And he's constantly surrounded by books that he finds in the garbage that he compacts, or books that he finds other places. And he actually will take his inspirations, art books, philosophy books, whatever kinds of books, and put them in the cube of garbage that he's going to be compacting, and is making art with them. And it's basically a book that showcases a love for words and a love for natural life, everyday to day life. It reads almost like a journal, but a very poetic journal. I guess maybe the time when I was reading it, I really enjoyed it because it was a palate cleanser. Those are my general thoughts on it. And the next book I have for you here is God versus Government by Nathan Busenitz and James Coates. And it's all about these two leaders of two different churches who, during COVID, after several months of COVID and after several months of adhering to all the restrictions that the government gave them, decided to keep their churches open. And at first they flesh out their story, what they decided and what happened after they made their decisions. James Coates specifically was sent to prison for his stand against the restrictions. And then afterward, what follows is the reason why they took the stand that they took. So it is very eye-opening that way to just step onto the other side and understand why people decided to be open during the pandemic. And, well, two of their main reasons was that Christ is the head of the church and not the government. And so therefore the government doesn't have jurisdiction over, if it goes against what Christ commanded his church to do, was to always meet together in fellowship and the edification of Christians. And also another one was that they felt it did more harm than good in keeping people away from each other when they knew that people needed to be together and that people were lonely and depressed, and that did influence a lot of their decisions. I'm probably not saying it properly to the way that they intended to write this. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. I'm taking half a point off because James Coates' writing is a little, not robotic, but it's just not as interesting as Nathan Busenitz's writing, and it's just a little bit more simple. But I definitely enjoyed this read. It was a thought-provoking read. I have Shadows of Swanford Abbey by Julie Klassen, and this is a mix of Agatha Christie and Jane Austen, which caught my heartstrings right away. It's all about Miss Rebecca Lane, who goes to visit her brother at their childhood home, and her brother is a writer. He is desperately trying to get his manuscript taken by a publisher, but the publisher that he wants to query his manuscript to does not take unsolicited submissions. But he has worked for one of their top writers, so he asks his sister to go to the Abbey turned hotel where he knows this writer is staying and somehow get his manuscript to the writer so the writer then in turn can give it to the publisher. Well, what ensues is interesting characters that are met. There is a murder and secrets that are being covered. And Miss Rebecca Lane is also meeting her childhood love, Sir Frederick, and they work together to solve the mystery, but also uncovering the secrets that they're withholding from each other. The romance was light on this one. I would have liked to have seen not having to be erotic or anything, but just more meat to perhaps their conversations or to their interactions with one another, make that bond deeper. I didn't feel it was very deep. But the actual murder mystery itself was very well done and thought out and enacted, and I did not expect who was the actual murderer to be the murderer. So this was a good read overall. I give it 4.5 stars. Now, before I get, I'm going to save that book for last. Then I attempted to read Feast Your Eyes by Mila Goldberg, which was a book that our local book club picked. I just couldn't do it. I tried until page 50 and there was nothing. It was empty. The format was interesting. It was also kind of like a journal format, but did not give me anything. And I felt really bad because in my book club, I have this reputation that I finish every book that we decide to read. And I just couldn't do it. I was like, you know what? My time is more precious to me than some book that I'm not interested in. So I DNF'd it, and that was that. Okay, now for the book. That was so good. Was Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This book makes you go everywhere and feel everything. It was heart-wrenching. It was heartwarming. It was beautiful. Beautiful writing. This story is about a young girl named Angel who was sold into prostitution when she was young. And she is under the care of Duke, whom she eventually runs away from and sets off to California, where now she works under a madam. And one day as she's walking down the road in all black, she looks like a widow. There's this man, Michael Hosea, who sees her and just feels this enormous love for her. Not so much in love, but she's beautiful and gorgeous. But he hears this voice telling him to marry her, and that's the voice of God telling him to marry her. And so he goes and follows her back to the brothel. And he's like, what? A prostitute? What am I supposed to be doing? I'm a farmer. I need a farmer's wife. And what ensues is a beautiful story of unconditional love and going after someone and giving of yourself and laying yourself bare open to someone who at first doesn't want you, but you know needs that love and sympathy and compassion in their lives. And what a story. It is just a picture. It's based on the Hosea and Gomer story in the Bible, but just what a beautiful picture of God's unconditional love. This was 5 stars. So good. And then my last read of the month was The Murder on the Links by Agatha Christie. That was a library book, so I don't have it with me right now. I wasn't expecting to like it, I guess, because Murder on the Links has to do with golf, and I don't know, like I'm not interested in golf at all. But thankfully, the only part of golf was that the body was found on a golf course, but nothing else had to do with golf. So phew. It's about Hercule Poirot has gone away on vacation with his friend Captain Hastings, and he's on vacation. He receives this telegram of someone asking him to come and protect him because he feels that his life is in danger. When they get there, the man has died. He is murdered. And what ensues is them trying to figure out, there's the wife, there's the son, there's the son's lover, and then a son's another lover, and a potential lover of the husband. Anyways, there's a lot of lovers in this one. And Hercule Poirot, of course, has his little gray cells going, and he knows what's happening. But Captain Hastings is constantly making judgments that are not correct. And it was a very well thought out murder mystery. I enjoyed it very much more than I expected. So this one I'm giving 5 stars. I really, really liked it. Now, for this month, for my TBR, it's not just a regular TBR. I am doing Shelf Space's Magical Creatures Readathon of 2022. Leslie at the Nerdy Narrative is part of hosting this readathon, so I'm super excited to be a part of this. Basically, each prompt is a mythical creature, and it has a prompt that you need to fulfill with your book. So I will quickly share what I'm going to be doing, and then, of course, at the end of June, I will share what I thought about these books. But the first one that I have here is Dragon, and it's basically a book cover that has a flame or fire on it. I chose Hearts of Fire because, look, it's got a little tiny flame there. And it's about 8 women in the underground church and their stories of costly faith. And it's by the voice of the martyrs. It's an organization that writes stories like this. I borrowed it from a friend and probably 3 months ago. So it's high time I read this so I can give it back to her. Then I have Cerberus. It has to be a book that is part of a trilogy. And I ordered Robert Piotone's The Triangle. I believe it's a YA Waterworld. That's what it is. So I don't know too much more than that. But Robert Piotone introduced me to the whole horror book community on YouTube. Horror in general, we decided to do a book swap. So he read my books and I read his books, and we gave each other reviews. And thank you, Robert, so much for introducing me to this beautiful world and book community. So I'm reading his. I'm going to write, what am I trying to say? A book review for it. I'm excited. And then I have Kraken, Something That Is Intimidating. I don't have it with me right now, but there's a book called Democracy in Canada by Savoie, and I'm going to pick it up at my library. It's basically, I think, a book that just kind of details what democracy, or I guess how democracy in Canada works, and civic duties of people. And just with politics being very interesting right now in Canada, I decided that I wanted to be more informed. And if I have opinions and I have a voice, and I might as well use them in the most efficient way I can in the democratic system of Canada. And also it's high time that Canadians take hold of the democratic system and actually use it to their advantage. So I'm excited to read that, but it is a big book and it's going to be heavier themed, I believe. Then I have Leprechaun, less than 300 pages. That is Catcher in the Rye by, oh goodness, it's a classic. And I started reading that. It's interesting so far. So we'll see how that goes. And then my last one is Kimra. and it's supposed to be a genre blending book. And for that one, I'm going to be reading The Coward. I can't remember the author's name, but I'll tell you all about it at the end of the month. That's supposed to be like sci-fi fantasy. And I forgot one more is Murder in Mesopotamia, Agatha Christie. There is a prompt for like a healer in a book, so maybe there's a doctor in there that I could like sneak that book into. We'll see. I'm so excited for this TBR. I loved May. It was a great reading month. How was your reading month? What was your favorite book? And what are you most looking forward to reading in June? And are you going to join Shelf Space's Mythical Creatures Readathon? And you know what? It's really easy. You just take the books that you decided you're going to read already and then just kind of fit it into the prompts if you're able to. I don't know if you could tell. I was really excited. So have an awesome weekend. I am excited to see you guys next week with more AuthorTube and BookTube content. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see ya.